in the last 10 years, the Glazers have spent an extraordinary sum of money just maintaining the debt, because they never have any money. 838 million. I mean, that's just on financing. 488 million interest. £251 debt repayment. And they haven't really repaid any debt.
Any debt,
And I mean, and the rest of it just goes in dividends on a regular basis. I mean, every year the dividend is taken out before the amount of money is declared that they're spending on in the transfer windows. So basically, if they earn less, and we do if we're not in Europe, if they earn less, out go the dividends, and the little bit that's left is the amount that's left to spend. It never includes repairing the roof, I've found. So really, the whole structure of the way the Glazers bought the club should be made illegal. Clubs like Manchester United are, despite the fact that we've got 3 million fans worldwide, clubs like Manchester United are really a local amenity. My relatives get married there, my friends get married there, we meet our husbands there. It's a local amenity. It's not a cash cow for the Americans. But allowing this to continue and allowing this method of buying clubs, the British government are guilty of allowing it to continue. And they are allowing it to continue in a situation where they are destroying our local amenities. People like to think that clubs like Man United are so big that they're not a local amenity, but they are.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like all clubs, if you look at it, like, the very roots of theirs are local, and that touch with the local people and the local culture is so important for all the big clubs. And it's really important, like, as if there's a local player from the area where the club is from to play, and the pride which the fans have in supporting that player, it's huge. Like you could have seen that with there were numerous ones which played under Ferguson during his time, and you could see the energy and the passion in the fans. You could see the same right now. Say, for example, for Liverpool, if when Trent is playing, you can see that kind of energy for Liverpool fans as well. Yeah. So
the upshot of, well, you see, if you look at the United team, a lot of them are local lads.
Yeah.
I mean, that's coming through they play
the academy.
Yeah, they play. See, they come to the club when they come to the academy, which is at Carrington.
Yeah.
And they can come to the academy from the age of 7.
Yeah.
So they play we have a massive number of youth teams.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous, But you watch people like Rashford come through the under 7s, the under 10s, the under 14s, the under 12s, do you know what I mean? They just go through the system. Rashford has been there forever and a day. So has Jess Lingard.
Yeah.
Greenwood has been there forever and a day. Pogba has been, but he disappears off and then comes back.
Yeah.
But basically, they are educated at Carrington. The academy there educates them. It teaches them manners. It teaches them everything. They don't need a parent, which is just as well in some cases. So the club takes over as that player's parent.
Yeah.
So when you do that kind of thing, you are committing yourself to the local community, and then you walk away from it. For example, we lost one of our junior coaches, Nicky Butt, I think it was. We didn't replace him for 7 months. And when we did replace him, we replaced him from within the club. 7 months to replace somebody who was sitting 2 doors down?
Yeah.
They're not interested. It's lack of interest. That's the problem.
So
lack of interest, lack of knowledge,
Yeah. So basically, I mean, all the problems which United are facing right now all stems from the fact that the management structure and the interest of the owners in the club is so minimal that everything is just falling like a pack of cards. So it's essentially just being sustained because of the I'll say the financial backbone which Ferguson had created for over the years, and I think that's the only thing which is keeping United going right now.
What keeps them going is the fact that fans are idiots. They will insist on spending money at the megastore. I don't know what goes through these people's brains. They'll go, hey, we're not spending money in the transfer window, and we're buying T-shirts. Yes, you're buying bloody T-shirts, and you're encouraging the Glazers to stay.
Yeah.
And when they encourage the Glazers to stay, they are encouraging a 6-year cycle of failure.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very sad thing for somebody my generation who have supported the club all their lives to have to say that United are actually on a 6-year cycle of failure, and it will continue as long as the Glazers stay.
Yeah.
There is no way out of it. How did you get rid of the Americans?
I think it was just a stroke of luck that I think Liverpool came out of that. I remember reading this like really amazing story of this a very a small employee who had actually emailed our current owners, Liverpool's current owners, that this is a club which I support. This is a football club in the UK which I support, and I think you might like the financial deal which is out there, because they might go into administration and you might find a cheap deal over there. So he just shot like a cold email to the top bosses, and within 5 days, and within 5 days he was in the boardroom meeting discussing everything. So I think it was a bit of a stroke of luck that we got rid of Gillett and Hicks. I have seen those years, and that is the worst. That is the worst years ever. So I can totally understand and relate to you, and when you have that that so much anger inside, and why this is happening. Just to feel.
I vent my anger. I vent it in my group. I would just suddenly take, half a page and kind of vent, I genuinely believe that there are possibly a couple of people out there who would consider buying United. One of them has a very similar name to myself. And Jim Radcliffe, I think, has the money to do it. He owns football clubs. He's a Manc. He's a Man United fan. Can't say anything wrong about him, really. He's a proper businessman. He wouldn't take any more crap about roof repairs, though. But I think, I feel he could do it. And I feel he might eventually be interested in doing it. But not at this moment in time. At this moment in time, the attitude of almost all businessmen is the Glazers have let the club go too far.
Yeah.
It's not just a question of what you would have to pay the Glazers to get rid of them. It's a question of how much you would have to spend to bring the team back up to anything where it should be. It's very nice that they can bring through cheap people from the academy, although that's not really as cheap as you think. It's quite expensive putting a kid through the academy for 10 years. But that is like a cost which is already going, which is like like a monthly expense which has already been put into the club. So like players coming out of that is kind of like saving at least the transfer fee for the club. Yes, I think that's all they're saving, really. And in fairness, they've been asset stripping the academy for a while now. So they're basically selling off the kids that there is no immediate place for. Yeah. There's no kind of leaving somebody lurking in the under-21s, because they're going to come to it eventually. Yeah. There's none of that. They've just stripped them all out and sold them. There is no, in truth, if you look at the United team, there's no depth of squad. If Phil Jones goes down injured for the 27th time, there's nobody to fill these gaps. Yeah. We have a player called Bailly. He's a great defender, but I think he's made of Weetabix. Yeah. I never knew anybody who gets injured as often as Weetabix. He just kind of gets crumbles and gets carried off all the time. I think he's played something like 12 games, you know.
Yeah.
And
I
when
think
they
I think, if I'm not wrong, like one of the last matches after the restart, he had a clash of heads out of like every kind of different injury you can have. He just had a clash of heads and had to be substituted off.
I'm telling you, he's made of Weetabix. You know, this is not a man that is made of skin and bone, you know. He's made out of some breakfast cereal. Really, he just disintegrates. And no matter, he really is a fast defender. And we really need a defender that can get back. Yeah. And my God, he plays about 1 game in 20. He's just always injured. Who signed him? A player that is always injured.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah.
Nobody who knew anything about football. And therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
Therein lies the problem.
So like, you know, just moving on a bit from the system of the management system at United, like we discussed a bit about Ole and, you know, how he can, you know, whether he can, you know, change the fortunes of United or not. So what do you think is, like, you know, with the current squad, if you think, you know, there is no more addition in this summer or fall window, whatever you want to call it now. So do you think, what kind of system should Ole go and play with this squad right now? Like, what do you think is the best option of, you know, players or a system which you think, you know, is going to make things work for United this season?
I don't know what will make things work for United this season, and my deep suspicion is that Ole doesn't know either, which is, I mean, just seems a bit random to me. Yeah. I mean, I see a team come out on the pitch, and, you know, you think, wow, I wonder what we're playing those people for. It's just very random, and I'm not actually able to get to grips with all this system. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying that when we have a lot of injuries, because we have no depth of squad, there is no backup for it. You end up playing left wingers on the right and right wingers in the goal, and, you know, it's just like anything, really. Any old person will do. So I think without a depth of squad, it just all becomes random. Yeah. There doesn't seem to be any kind of thing to aim at. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, well, he's fit and he's fit and he's fit. So, you know, the best we can hope for really as a fan is that Greenwood, Bruno and Rashford are fit every game.
Yeah.
Because if they're not, we're probably up shit street without a paddle.
Yeah.
You know, there's no alternative. I mean, Martial, wow. I know when he came, everybody said he came from France, not a chance.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
We're now about 5 years into that, and nothing has changed. Every so often,
I remember watching that game when you know, I think it was his second or third game only in the Premier League, and he scored that beautiful goal against Liverpool, like, you know, Martin Skrtel, and, you know, I remember reading everywhere in the media that, you know, he's the next Henry, and, like, you know, as you said, 5 years, 4 years down the line,
and then we forgot. And we forgot.
There's nothing.
He's no different, is he?
Yeah.
It's not. Part of it with Martial is that he's moody, and I mean, he's French. You know, I'm here. I'm in France. I've lived here for 12 years.
Yeah.
At the bottom line of this, the French are moody. It's what they do. Yeah. So he was kind of encouraged to be moody when he was playing in France. Now, if you look at the great Frenchman, and I'll just take Eric Cantona as my hero, Eric was also moody.
Yeah.
As we know from the Great Kicking Expedition.
Yeah.
You know. But, I mean, he was moody, but somehow he channeled it. Martial doesn't channel it. He just has a bad day or a good day, and that's the end of it, really. If it's a bad day, he just doesn't try. He just runs about for a bit and then gets subbed.
So, I mean, I think, you know, with respect to Cantona, as you brought it up, I think, again, coming back to Ferguson, I think he was one of the most pivotal reasons why Cantona became such a huge player at United as compared to, like, you know, he was at his previous club. So, you know, to channel that.
Yeah, quite. Oh, yeah.
So,
to
So similarly, like, how I'll say, like, we have seen like the eccentricity of Ibrahimovic, and it's not that every manager can handle him. And we saw, like, with
No.
Mourinho, how good he handled it, and how he brought the best out of Ibrahimovic, and that worked wonders for United. I mean, every time he was on the pitch for United, I think United looked so much more dangerous, even though he was, I think, what, 35 or 36 when he was there, I think.
Oh, I'm sure he's much older than that. I think he lies. But I mean, basically, he seems to have been playing football forever. I don't remember when there wasn't an Ibrahimovic. But I just think the difference, to a great extent, was that Eric Cantona was motivated by the fans.
Yeah.
When you were in Old Trafford and Cantona was on the pitch, after a few months of watching him, when he got the ball, it was as if the fans were throwing him at the goal.
Yeah.
The level of noise and support was behind his back, pushing him along somehow. And he just would have that flick or a little moment of complete brilliance where we all fell on the floor going, ah! And, and we'd won the game.
Yeah.
That is not how Martial is. Yeah. If you overdo the shouting for Martial, he sulks.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why. But he does. He sulks. And if he sulks, he doesn't play. So having somebody that moody as a pivotal part of a team is a mistake. I mean,
That's
really.
True. That's true.
You can't rely on him to do anything. You can rely on Rashford. You can rely on Greenwood, we're now finding out.
Yeah.
We can rely on Bruno. But we can't rely on Pogba, and we can't rely on Martial.
Yeah.
Apparently, Martial's one of the favourites of the Glazers, and that all makes sense. Because I'm still trying to work out why he's still playing. I mean, he should be down here in Monaco, sunbathing. He should not be playing on a pitch in wet, miserable Manchester. But I just absolutely do not know why he's still there. I think if somebody came in with a decent offer, the Glazers would take it.
Yeah, but then I think the previous season Martial actually played like better than like what he has performed for United in the past. So I'm just here hoping for United that if he kicks on from the previous season and tries to work harder, it might just click for him. Otherwise, I think United should just cash in on him next season.
I think we should just cash in on. I think we've waited about 5 years for him to work harder. Wow. Yeah. Not wait for him to work harder, because that is just not going to happen. I mean, you can tell just by looking at the guy on the training pitch that, it's all a bit listless. It's a bit like Pogba.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it is a lot like dealing with Pogba.
Yeah. So with respect to good players, or I'd rather use the word like good young players who are performing and who are really good. You always get the odd shout of like a top club wanting to sign them, but I've never seen that case with Martial. So you won't ever see him getting linked with any big club, because that just shows like what the level of the player is. Because if he's actually punching above his weight, or even consistently punching at his weight, then you will get suitors who will be interested in trying to maximize the talent which is there.
I think the only people that might sign him are Arsenal. They have a reputation for just signing players that are crap. And,
if it would have been Wenger and Martial being French, I'm sure there would have been a bit.
Yeah, I think so. Who knows? But yeah, I think, unfortunately, and it is a bit unfortunate, really, because he scored a hat-trick, Martial, suddenly, out of the blue. But it's all out of the blue. A good performance from Martial is out of the blue. You don't expect it. It really doesn't happen very often. But when it does, you're happy to go out and celebrate with him.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen often enough. It just doesn't happen often enough. And I think we should send his CV to Arsenal. I think the Glazers are missing a trick here. They clearly don't know much about football. But I just think that with inconsistent players like Pogba, like Martial, and, they've got a lot in common, the French.
Yeah.
And you've got this sort of inconsistent drifting around a field, which doesn't leave you feeling any confidence that they might ever have a good game.
Yeah.
I mean, Pogba, 2 decent passes in every game, and then he's looking for the hairdresser. He's drifting around. It's like he's got a pad in his hand going, oh, look at that. He's just like not with the team. He's not, he doesn't know what's going on. And then he'll do these 2 brilliant passes. He'll drop them at the feet of Greenwood, right there.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, wow. And then he goes back to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the United versus Palace game, and he was woeful.
Woeful.
I mean, you can't. You'd rather expect like a mid-table club centre midfielder playing like that. I mean, if you look at, I think it was McCarthy who was playing at the centre of the park for Crystal Palace that day. He was miles ahead of Pogba in every department. Whether you want to talk about aerial battles, you want to talk about normal passing, you want to talk about normal tackling.
He doesn't do aerial battles. He doesn't do those things. If he does, he nuts them. He actually hasn't seemed to have any spatial awareness. He doesn't chase balls back.
Yeah.
He loses a ball and he kind of goes, a Gallic shrug.
Yeah.
Just like, wow, that guy just took it off my feet.
Yeah.
Never mind. And that's exactly how he is in every game.
Yeah.
There are
the whole thing which you brought up about the French and them being moody, it actually kind of reminded me of another Frenchman who played for United in Barthez, the goalkeeper. He was one eccentric fellow. I mean,
he was. Do you know, the offside rule didn't really apply when you were playing Barthez.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know where he was.
Where he would be.
It was like, where is he?
Yeah.
He just wasn't where he's supposed to be. But worse than Barthez was Massimo Taibi.
Yeah.
He was even worse. I mean, there was a goalkeeper. Oh, God. But with both of them, they were eccentric. And you spent a lot of time trying to work out why.
Yeah.
Never mind, where are they?
Yeah.
Why? Why are they here?
Yeah.
Eccentric.
I mean, going from Barthez, like who's who would pull off like a world class save out of the blue, like when you were not expecting, and then him just missing a simple 7 or 8 yard pass. From there you come down to Edwin van der Sar, who's like one of the most reliable goalkeepers out there in his time. I think from a defensive point of view, like if I'm the defender, I'll feel so much more comfortable. But then again, I mean,
why the defenders don't feel so comfortable at the moment, and I don't think they do.
Yeah.
And I look at De Gea, and every so often he pulls out an absolutely brilliant save, but he's not so good with crosses.
Yeah.
And sometimes he makes the most horrendous howlers that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think his agent writes really good press releases because his agent seems to want us to regard him as the wall.
Yeah.
And that's the very last thing I would regard De Gea.
Yeah.
He's not a wall. He's not that good.
I mean, if you look at like his 2012, 13, and 13, 14 seasons, they were stupendous. They were brilliant. Like, I mean, you would expect a goalkeeper who's playing for Manchester United to perform like that, like a truly world class player. But then after that, it's just been downhill. Like you see him making silly errors, and then I think his positioning has gotten worse. So I mean, I don't know how United are trying to work that out, because I think there is.
Well, what they did was sell his coach. They allowed his coach to.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you go along with this idea, I mean, goalkeepers have goalkeeping coaches. Well, a few years ago that didn't happen. He just got coached by everybody else, like everybody else, But then we started with this selection of goalkeeping coaches. And eventually we got one that he liked. Now, I suspect he liked him a lot because he spoke Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I just think, or maybe, I can't remember if he spoke Spanish or Portuguese, but anyway, they understand each other. I think when he went, I think we lost the David De Gea that we had. And maybe that was the time to sell him.
Yeah, and probably at that point of time, I think probably Madrid would have come in and signed him up. But then even
what about the broken down fax machine or whatever? Hell,
yeah,
antiquated method. And maybe that would have been a bit early to sell him, but who knows? But certainly, as it is at the moment, I would have sold him, and I think we might have missed the opportunity to cash in. On the other hand, that would just have increased the Glazers' dividends.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, like, as you said, like, with respect to the goalkeeping coach, and I remember, this kind of stuff actually happens a lot, like, because I remember, when Pepe Reina was at Liverpool, and Benitez, was sacked. The goalkeeping coach, which was there, whose name was Javi Valero, he left, and all of a sudden, you see Reina's performance is going down, and I think it's more of like the comfort some players find in certain kind of coaches, whether they are from their own country or speak the same language or like have the same cultural things which they associate them with. So I think it is really important for clubs to actually identify that and make sure that the players, especially like a goalkeeper, which is like a highly specialist position, right? So to have a coach who actually he feels comfortable with. Otherwise, if he's not comfortable, then just sell him. Get a new goalkeeper who can be like molded into whatever way the coach wants him to.
If a goalkeeper is very comfortable with coach, he's playing well, why would a club let the coach leave?
Absolutely.
So it's poor management,
Yeah.
It's poor management. I mean, we're in a situation where Dean Henderson's being offered 6-year deals.
Yeah.
He's about 12. And he's had, I know he's had good experience while he's been on loan, but the bottom line of this is that some idiot has offered Dean Henderson a vast amount of money.
Yeah.
Well, what they've done, you see, this is the thing with contracts. There's a general feeling amongst fans that contracts make a player stay at a club, but that's not true.
It's just to increase the transfer money.
Value. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It just gives a player value.
Yeah.
And they've given Dean Henderson big value, which is fine. He's a good goalkeeper, but he's going to have to he'll struggle to get in the first. Yeah. He'll be playing Carabao Cup, obscure things rather than the league for a while, and and then we'll lose him and end up with De Gea, and De Gea's just not that good anymore.
Yeah,
but I just think it's poor management to let a goalkeeper coach go when he's coaching a goalkeeper that is performing well. It's poor management. Absolutely,
and I think what makes it actually worse from a United point of view is the wages which De Gea is on. I mean, it's mouth-watering. And when you compare his wages and the kind of performances he's dropping for the past 2 seasons, especially, you really should have a rethink and what you want to do with your goalkeeping position. And when you have like a really good goalkeeper in Dean Henderson who's coming up, there should be like a talk.
We've still got Romero, as far as I know. We've still got Romero, who was the best standing goalkeeper in the whole country.
Yeah.
I mean, really. I have no idea why he was happy to play second fiddle, but he got to play European games and he got to play Carabao Cup, and perhaps you're not bothered really about the other stuff. But now we've got to divide it between 3 goalkeepers.
Yeah.
So are we going to keep 3 goalkeepers happy? I doubt it.
Yeah. So it's just going to end up with Romero being sold, I guess. I mean, plus the thing with which has kind of also again a bold thing which you can say is that there hasn't been any decent sales of players which I could say like Woodward sold this guy above his market value, which could actually show like how good a negotiation it was from him, or something on those lines. I mean, there is no recouping of money via the transfer market now. So
Yeah.
I think that is.
I think the last this year was I think we sold Smalling.
Yeah.
He'd been gone to. I think he'd gone to Roma. Wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and he'd been gone a year. And somebody said, "Why don't we bring back Smalling?" I said, "He won't come back."
Yeah.
What do you think? He's gone to Roma. He's moved his family into the Mediterranean sunshine.
Yeah.
He's playing with a first-class team. He's playing in Europe. On what possible grounds could we bring Smalling back? But you know what? When he was playing, they couldn't wait to get rid of him. They were like, "Oh, Smalling dropped us in it again."
Yeah. I think Smalling's move to Roma was pretty good for him. I think the pace of the league suits him more, and he has more time to play on the ball. So so I think it's better suited for him as such. And as you said, there's no need for him to come back, because I think he has already done everything, like won everything which is there with United. So I mean, why come and make the last 4-5 or whatever years he has left?
I don't know why he would come back. When I'm here in the Mediterranean, I look at that and I think, oh good, I'm going back to rainy Manchester on Monday. I can't wait. And I'm sure the same things would go through Smalling's mind.
Yeah.
I mean, the board can't wait to get salaries off the books.
Yeah.
The only thing that matters is getting salaries off the books, which is why the squad is so depleted.
And thank God Sanchez is off. Thank God Sanchez is off now. That was another travesty. Oh my God.
Oh. We have some players we call the snake. It's probably as well if I don't go into too much detail. But some players that we ended up with, I mean, we know it was Woodward, but what kind of idiot came up with this idea of borrowing players for a year? Players that were, well, first of all, it doesn't matter who you sign, it takes them a year to get into the Premiership. The Premiership's a tough league, it's hard work. Whilst I'm here in mainland Europe, I watch the Farmers Leagues and I watch the French League and the Italians and sometimes the German and the Spanish.
Yeah.
And they are not as tough. They're just not so hard to play in. Mostly because for some of them, they've got sunny weather 9 months of the year. But, which makes you feel a bit alert and kind of like bothering. But, somebody came up with this idea of borrowing some of these really awful players who were never going to get into the Premiership League way of things within a year. Now, all the fans know that. The manager knows that. I'm not quite sure. I think it must have been Jose Mourinho who kind of went, yeah, go on then. Because I think he thought, that's an FU. Let's just go with and see what happens.
Yeah.
But really, some of the players that, United have signed, even just on a loan basis, it's frightening. Absolutely frightening. That they would either spend the money or waste the oxygen. Some of these players are just wasting oxygen, and we're busy kind of trying to slot them into a team for a year.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't work either. So that was another experiment of Woodward's that went out the window. I mean, it's because he knows nothing about football that we're in this situation. And the fact that he could work out how to lend them enough money to do it.
Yeah.
He sorted that. He was the banker. I know who to blame.
Yeah.
But he doesn't own the club. He just runs it. He just mismanages it. He's a mismanager. I don't know. I don't know really whether those kind of things will continue under Ollie, because I have my deep suspicion that Ollie's being worked from behind by, like a puppet.
Yeah.
I think Staff is working him from behind,
and
putting me in there with him as an enforcer. I think enforces the view that Staff might,
want to put out. Yeah.
Of an input there, I think. I suspect so. So if Ollie outlives the 6 years, then perhaps it's because Saf has been working him from behind. But I don't think Ollie will last more than the 6 years. But while he's there, he's our manager, and we should support him.